Hey guys, Mixed Media Girl here. Today I'm going to go over the two most common problems I've seen that people have with acrylic pouring, okay? So the first is the paint consistency, either too thin or too thick, all right? So on the left here, we have too thin. On the right, we have too thick. And I'm going to show you what both of these do. So this is the one that's too thin, and it is very watery, so it just runs right off my stick there. And this is the one that's too thick, and it does run off my stick, but it's much slower, right? And I'm going to do kind of a drip test for you here so you guys can really see the difference. So that's too thick, obviously, and then here we have too thin, and this will just show you the consistency of both. See how they run? So one hardly moving, one running right down the canvas. All right. So what you're looking for is right in between those. All right, but now we're gonna do a pour with each, and we're gonna show you what happens when you have it too thin or too thick. So let's go ahead and start with the too thin. And I'm just gonna use this cup here. So I'm just using the three colors, A, so I didn't have to mix up and waste a bunch of paint, and B, because you can actually do a lot with these three colors. So just black, white, and blue. All right. We'll go ahead and flip cup this. And while I'm letting that sit here, we'll do the too thick one. And these are both mixed with water and Floetrol, okay? Just on this side, it's mixed with much more paint, so just a little bit of water and Floetrol. And then on this side, it's mixed with just a lot of water. So also Floetrol and paint, but a lot of water. All right, let's go ahead and flip cup this. Okay. And then we'll do this. All right, so initially, it actually looks quite nice there. But you'll see, obviously, it's very runny here. So your colors end up muddying. And you're also going to end up losing your cells. So let's see if we can make something kind of nice out of this. We probably still can. All right. So there's that one. Now this may also, sometimes when it's too thin, it may appear to have cells, but then as it keeps moving, because it's so thin, it keeps going, that they disappear. So there's that one. And also the colors, like I said, they're pretty muddied. All right, here's too thick. I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to do this one. As you can see, the colors are staying much more separate here than in the thin one. It's much more difficult to spread around. I don't even know where the black went. I guess it's hiding under there because it's so thick. And then the common problems with this is that you will also most likely get cracking. Okay. So this is just difficult. And mind you guys, I'm kind of showing extremes of these. Although I probably could have done a little bit thinner on that one. Okay, I'm giving up because we don't have the next week to do this. But here's what we'll do. So obviously this one doesn't look great, right? But we'll go ahead and we'll let these dry, and we'll come back and we'll see how they look, okay? And we'll do that by the end of the video. For now, we're gonna go on to the second most common problem that I see. Okay, the second most common problem that I have noticed is people just simply not using enough paint. Like being worried about conserving paint or whatever. So not using enough. So we're going to reuse the same cup we were using for the thin paint. And I'm just going to add a couple ounces of paint to it. And this is just my regular mixture. And mind you guys, this is not a video on mixing paint. For that, check out, and I'll put the link in the description, my video on mixing paint. So I'm just going to add just a little bit of paint here. Definitely not enough to cover this canvas. And I will also put my ratios down in the description. So I generally use about 1 ounce of paint for every 16 square inches of canvas. So that means for this canvas that is an 8 by 10, I would need around 5 ounces of paint. And this is really actually important because when you don't have enough paint, what you end up doing is tilting way too much and trying to get everything covered, and then you lose completely 100% of your design. So, because you have to just keep stretching it and stretching it. Alright, once again, this is going to be a kind of an extreme example, but people do this. People will put just a few ounces of paint there. In groups, I've seen the recommended amount of paint for this canvas size as 3 ounces. Okay, this is about 2 ounces, so think of 1 more ounce, not a lot more. And you're going to see how difficult it will be for me to cover this canvas and how much stretching I would have to do to cover the canvas. So it's like, it seems like it would be kind of, you know, just logic, but it's not, because people follow these different directions, like certain amounts of paint, and then they wonder why they have trouble. And I don't know who came up with those ratios. I'm not bashing that person at all. I'm just saying from my experience, this is what I've seen. So if you find yourself running into this problem, this could be why. So see how this is starting to get all stretched out? So not only am I having difficulty just getting the canvas covered, because there's really just not enough paint here, this really cool design that I actually did have in here is now getting all stretched out. So I'm just going to tilt just a little more, because if I was a new paint pourer, I would be doing my best to try to cover this thing. And I've watched some other YouTube videos, and you can tell when the people are making these mistakes, when they're having trouble getting the canvas covered. You can see when the paint is too thick or too thin. Okay, so anyways, that's probably as good as it's going to get in terms of paint coverage. I could keep going and cover the whole thing, but more or less the point is that it's going to get all stretched out. It's going to get kind of muddy, and you're going to lose any of the really cool parts that you had in the beginning. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually salvage this one. We're going to add some more paint, and we'll just go right over this. And then we'll see the difference of how easy it is to get the canvas covered here. So in this, because I already have a couple ounces of paint here, I'm just going to go with probably around 4 ounces of paint. Because I shouldn't need the full 5, but still, I'm going to make sure that I have enough paint. And then because it would be semi-difficult to do a flip cup over here, we'll just do a tree ring. We're just going to go right in the middle. And right away you can also tell the difference between the amounts of paint that I put on there. Previously, the circle was, what, like maybe this big? And now you can tell that I'm not going to have too much difficulty covering the canvas. Of course, there is also the wet paint below it, which helps. But the point is, it's just enough. It's enough paint that I don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? I'm going to get the canvas covered. no issues without having to stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. And if you get the right amounts and the right consistencies, you're actually going to waste much less paint than you would otherwise. So as you notice there, I had no difficulty covering the canvas. Super easy. And there you go. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to let our other two paintings dry that we did in the beginning, the too thin one and the too thick one. We'll see how those look when they're dry. And so we'll be back. So we're back and everything's dry. So just to reiterate, we have over here too thin, too thick, and just right. So let's look a little closer at these. So this one did not retain its cells. You can see some little crazing in there, probably from the amount of water. Also, you can see on the edges here, it's really thin. And then it kind of just muddied a bit, right? So it did look beautiful at first, but didn't dry well. This is the one that was too thick. That didn't look good at first either. And I'm actually shocked that this didn't crack. But you can see all these kind of pinholes that developed. And obviously I had a really hard time covering the canvas there. And then the black completely got hidden by the really thick white and blue paint. So that sunk down there. And then this was the one that I originally used not enough paint on. But then I added more paint so that it was enough. And this is the correct consistency. So you can see a pretty even coverage all around, no places where it's particularly thin, maintained the lines and whatnot, didn't keep moving, the colors didn't really muddy up. So there you go. Now once again, this is not a video on how to mix paint, this is more a video on how to not mix paint. So definitely check out the video on how I mix my paint. I'll put the link down in the description so that you can get your paint mixed up correctly and get the proper picture every time. But I just wanted to show you if you're getting results like these or the original one where I didn't use enough paint. Hopefully this can kind of help you see why. All right, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.